So what is economics really? For 250 years, some of the smartest people on the planet have been trying to answer that exact question. It's a huge journey through ideas about wealth, about our well-being, about human desire, all to figure out the world around us. Let's dive in.
It all kicks off with a feeling that every single one of us has had. You know that feeling, right? You want a new phone, or more free time, or a bigger place to live, but you realize you just can't have it all. Well, that simple, universal feeling, that's it. That's the very heart of the economic problem.
So, okay, why can't we have it all? Well, it boils down to this fundamental clash. First, our resources. Things like minerals, water, even our own time. They're all limited. There's only so much to go around. Second, our wants. Well, they're pretty much infinite. We always want more. And third, those limited resources can be used for different things. A piece of land could be a farm, or a factory, or a park. And that tension, right there, that's where economics is born.
All right, so who were the first thinkers to really try and tackle this massive problem? Let's meet the people who literally built the foundations of modern economics.
Okay, let's meet the key players in our story. First up, you've got Adam Smith, pretty much the original trailblazer. Then, much later, you have John Maynard Keynes, the guy who taught us to think about the economy as a whole big machine. And then there's Ragnar Frisch, who gave us the language we still use today, micro for all the individual little pieces and macro for the big picture.
The very first big answer to that question, what is economics? It was actually pretty simple, but incredibly powerful. The early thinkers, they believed it was all about just one thing, wealth.
Adam Smith himself put it about as plainly as you can in his famous 1776 book, The Wealth of Nations. For him, economics was, and I quote, the science of wealth. That's it. This one clear, direct idea would completely dominate economic thinking for more than 100 years.
And listen, when they said wealth, they weren't being abstract. They meant tangible stuff, money, gold, physical goods. For these early economists, the central puzzle was really straightforward. How does a nation get more things and become rich?
But then, as the Industrial Revolution completely changed the world, a new question started bubbling up. Is a huge pile of gold really the end goal? Or is that just a tool to get something else? What about the people? This led to a huge shift in focus, a turn towards human welfare.
And just like that, the entire conversation changed. Economists started talking less about gold and currency and way more about things like jobs, social security, and people's living standards. The focus moved to the actual quality of human life, which, believe it or not, was a pretty radical new idea back then. In this quote right here, from the super influential economist Alfred Marshall, it just perfectly captures this new way of thinking. He argued that economics wasn't just about wealth, it was about studying regular people making everyday choices. It brought the human element right to the front and center of the conversation.
I mean, this was a total game changer. Wealth wasn't the goal anymore. It was just a tool. It was a means to an end. The real point, the real objective, was to improve people's well-being by looking at what they actually do.
Okay, so as we move into the 20th century, the definition of economics gets even more precise. The new focus really zooms in on three key concepts: scarcity, our own wants, and this idea of growth.
And this is where things get really interesting. You have two thinkers looking at the exact same problem and coming to completely opposite conclusions. Lionel Robbins said, look, since resources are scarce, economics is all about choice, how we make the most of what we've got. But then J.K. Mehta comes along and totally flips the script. He argued the problem isn't the scarce resources, it's our own unlimited wants. And his radical solution? Real happiness comes from wanting less.
Okay, let's take a breath. We've got wealth, we've got welfare, we have this problem of choice because of scarcity, and we even have this wild idea of reducing our wants. How on earth do you bring all of these powerful ideas together into one single comprehensive definition?
And that, my friends, brings us to the modern definition. A Nobel Prize winner named Paul Samuelson managed to combine everything that came before him into one incredibly powerful sentence. It elegantly brings together wealth, welfare, and scarcity, and it adds a crucial new ingredient to the mix.
Look at how this all fits together. It's brilliant. It starts with choice because of scarcity, just like Robbins talked about. It covers the production of goods, which echoes Adam Smith's focus on wealth. It deals with distribution and consumption, which were central to the welfare folks. And then, finally, it adds this crucial dimension of time, recognizing that the economic choices we make today are what shape our future. So there you have. Our whole journey takes us through 5 big stages. We go from a narrow focus on wealth, to a broader concern for our well-being, to a sharp analysis of scarcity, a philosophical question about our own desires, and finally, to this modern view that ties it all together with an eye on the future. From the wealth of nations to the welfare of people, and from managing scarcity to planning for growth, the definition of economics has never, ever stood still. It has always adapted to the big challenges of its time. Which leaves us with one last fascinating question to think about. What are the next great challenges that economics will need to evolve to explain?